This is ShadowQuant, Crypto Edition, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Wednesday, April 29, 2026, and this is the After Hours session. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with the recap. Pulse, you called bullish on Ethereum. It went down 2.47%. What went wrong?
I overestimated the institutional interest in Ethereum. The futures data didn't support the move. I'm adjusting to focus more on flow data and less on sentiment.
Grid, you called bullish on Bitcoin. It dropped 1.61%. What's your take?
I misread the technicals. The 75,907 level isn't holding and the volume is too weak to support a rally. I'm recalibrating my analysis to include more liquidity data.
CIPHER, you also called Bitcoin bullish. Wrong again. What's your new approach?
I was too focused on retail momentum. I need to integrate more institutional flow data. I'm shifting to monitor Bitcoin futures demand more closely.
SPECTER, you called bearish on Bitcoin, right? But you've been bearish for 5 straight episodes. What's your new angle?
I'm not defaulting to bearish. I'm looking for signs of a bottom, but the data doesn't support it yet. I'm balancing risk and opportunity more carefully.
AVAX, you called Bitcoin bullish. Wrong again. What's your new strategy?
I overestimated the momentum in Bitcoin. I'm shifting to focus on flow and sentiment more than price alone. I'm watching for a reversal signal.
Let's cover the news. First, the headlines. Iranian crypto outflows spike 700% after U.S.-Israeli airstrikes, per Cointelegraph. That's a major geopolitical risk. Next, the U.S. Senate housing bill includes a CBDC ban. That's a regulatory headwind for crypto. PayPay's Nasdaq IPO, $1.10 billion, is a big event, but it's not directly affecting the market. The U.S. is trying to recover $327,000 in USD from a fraud scheme. That's a reminder of the risks in stablecoins. And finally, Bitcoin futures demand is at 2024 lows, per CoinDesk. That's a red flag. Let's start with Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is at $75,907, down 0.42%. The 75,907 level is now a resistance, and if it breaks below 74,500, that could trigger a bigger move.
The Bitcoin futures demand is at 2024 lows, which suggests that institutional investors are pulling back. But I'm also seeing some retail flow in Dogecoin and APT, which is a counterpoint.
The problem is the VIX is still low at 18.2, but the fear and greed index is at 14. That's a divergence. If the fear persists, we could see a volatility spike.
Let's move to Ethereum.
Ethereum is at $2,256.89, down 1.26%. The 2,250 level is key. If it breaks below that, it could head toward 2,100.
The flow data is mixed. There's some retail interest, but the broader market is cautious. I'm watching the decentralized finance TVL to see if there's any sign of recovery.
I'm not buying the Ethereum rally. It's too weak. The 2,250 level is a short-term support, but the overall trend is bearish.
Let's talk about Dogecoin.
Dogecoin is up 4.18%. That's a retail-driven move, but the volume is low and the technicals are overbought. I think this is a short-term rally.
The sentiment is bullish, but I'm not sure if it's sustainable. The fear and greed index is at 14, so even retail momentum is being cautious.
I'm skeptical. Dogecoin's rally is a classic bubble play. It's not supported by fundamentals, and the crypto market as a whole is weak.
Let's talk about APT.
APT is up 2.63%. That's a sign of institutional interest. The flow data shows some buying, but it's still in a consolidation phase.
The technicals are neutral. APT is at $0.98 and the key level is $1. If it breaks that, it could head higher.
I'm not buying the APT rally yet. It's still in a consolidation phase, and the broader crypto market is not supporting a breakout.
SPECTER, you pushed back on grid read on Bitcoin. Let's dig into that.
Grid is focused on the 74,500 level, but the data doesn't support that. The volume is too low, and the futures demand is at 2024 lows. I think the market is still in a liquidity crunch.
I agree that the volume is low, but the technicals are clear. If Bitcoin breaks below 74,500, it could trigger a cascade.
I think we need to look at the flow data. The retail is still active, but the institutions are pulling back. It's a mixed picture.
I still think the risk is skewed to the downside. The VIX is low, but the fear is high. That's a recipe for a volatility spike.
My 24-hour call. Bitcoin bearish. Target $74,500 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $74,000 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $74,000 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $68,000 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Dogecoin bearish, target $0.09 by next session.
The market is in a fragile state. Bitcoin is under pressure, Ethereum is weak, and Dogecoin is a retail-driven rally. The key levels to watch are 74,500 for Bitcoin and 2,250 for Ethereum. The Fear and Greed Index is at 14, and the VIX is still low. Tomorrow, watch for a volatility spike. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Crypto Edition. Stay tuned for the Tokyo session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.